Hey there, brave explorers. Are you ready for a thrilling adventure? Today, we're taking you to the mysterious, scary beach, where the ocean isn't the only thing that's deep and dark. In this video, we'll tell you 3 spine-tingling stories about spooky things that have happened there. From ghostly whispers in the waves to strange shadows on the shore, these tales will give you goosebumps. So, settle in, turn down the lights, and let's uncover the chilling secrets of Scary Beach. Get ready to be scared, but remember, it's all in good fun. Thank you for watching Craving Fear. We need your support to continue delivering stories and improve. If you haven't, like this video and subscribe for more content. This story happened to me some years ago, but it was so intense and terrifying that I remember it like it happened yesterday. I went on holiday to an exotic destination. The hotel I was staying at had a private beach, but I like to explore when I travel, so one day after breakfast, I adventured to visit a nearby village. I spent the afternoon in the village. It was quiet and relaxed. I spoke with a few people who were very welcoming, and although they did not speak much English, they did their best to make me feel welcome and recommend the best place to eat. One of the villagers insisted I should go see the nearby beach. When he talked about it, he had a weird grin, like he was setting me up for something. But I thought maybe I was imagining things. After lunch, I wandered outside the village and followed a narrow road that was supposed to take me to this famous beach. I got there after about half an hour of walking, and I soon realized that it was one of the most beautiful things I had seen. The white sand was as soft as silk, and the water had this turquoise color you only see in commercials. It was stunning, but above all, there was no one there. It was so quiet you could only hear the sound of the wind through the palm trees. One thing that struck me was that there were no waves. The water was still. I started walking on the sand and must have lost track of time because I realized it was getting dark. I headed back, but I couldn't help noticing that the scenery I was walking past did not seem familiar anymore. The trees were all scorched like they'd been burned, and that was definitely not what I'd seen when I walked past them earlier. As I was getting really uncomfortable with this new discovery, I also realized I had no idea where the hell I was. I had been walking long enough to get back to the road that was going to take me back to the village, yet I was not there. The sun had set, and the place was pitch black. The sound of the wind I had found so comforting earlier was now creeping me out because it was similar to howling. At one point, I could swear I heard a male voice sobbing. My mind was so terrified I refused to believe it was real, and I convinced myself it was me, as this experience had brought the cowardice within me to the surface. I was ready to cry like a baby. I am so grateful nobody was there to witness it. After what seemed to be 3 years, I found the road. I got to the village eventually and got a ride to the hotel. It was 3 in the morning, which meant I had spent over 12 hours walking on that beach. When I told one of the staff members at the hotel about my strange experience, they said it takes about 20 minutes to walk the whole length of the beach. They also told me there is a local legend about 60 soldiers who died on that strip of sand after World War II, and there have been reports of strange encounters. I have no idea if what happened to me was a paranormal experience, but ever since then, I have avoided solo adventures, and I have been very careful of my surroundings. My name is Mike, and I want to share with you one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had. I've always loved mysteries and actively sought out unusual experiences. What I'm about to tell you happened to me years ago when I was a teenager. Back then, I dedicated most of my brain power to getting into trouble and doing all sorts of things just for fun. This story takes place during a short getaway to Scotland, where my parents and I visited some relatives. My aunt lived there with her husband and kids, and we didn't get to see them very often. It was a chilly, foggy day when we decided to visit a local beach. The beach was quiet and almost deserted, with only a few people scattered along the shore. The air felt heavy, and the sea was calm, with gentle waves lapping at the sand. I wandered off on my own, exploring the rocky parts of the beach and feeling the cool breeze on my face. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something strange, a shipwreck. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but as I got closer, I could see it clearly. It was an old pirate ship covered in seaweed and barnacles, looking like it had been there for centuries. The wood was dark and rotting, and tattered sails flapped in the wind. The sight sent a chill down my spine, but simultaneously, it was exciting. I had read stories about ghost ships and pirate treasures, but I never thought I'd see one with my own eyes. I felt a mix of fear and curiosity. My heart raced, and my hands trembled as I approached the shipwreck. The closer I got, the more eerie it felt. There was a strange silence around it, as if the sea was holding its breath. I walked around the wreck, noticing strange symbols carved into the wood. They looked like pirate markings, and I couldn't help but wonder if they were some sort of code or message. Suddenly, I heard a faint whisper, like someone was calling my name. "Mike," it said, almost like a breath. I looked around, but there was no one there. My stomach twisted with fear, but I couldn't stop exploring further. I peered into the dark, empty hull of the ship and saw shadows moving inside. My heart pounded in my chest and my mouth went dry. It felt like 100 eyes were watching me, waiting for me to make a move. Then I saw them, ghostly figures of pirates, their faces pale and eyes hollow. They seemed to be guarding something, their expressions fierce and menacing. I was terrified, but I couldn't look away. They were trapped in time, stuck in an endless loop of guarding their treasure. The legend of Scary Beach flashed through my mind. It was said that pirates used to come to this very beach to hide their gold and kill their prisoners. The ghosts of those pirates were rumored to haunt the area, appearing only when someone was destined to find their hidden treasure. But why me? Why now? My legs felt like jelly and I wanted to run, but I was rooted to the spot. The ghostly pirates seemed to sense my fear, and they started moving toward me. I could hear the clinking of chains and the ship's creaking like it was coming to life. In that terrifying moment, everything went dark. The fog thickened, and a cold, biting wind swept over the beach. The whispers grew louder, echoing in my ears. "Leave! Leave!" they chanted, like a warning. My heart pounded harder, and I felt a cold sweat on my forehead. I stumbled back, tripping over the rocks, desperate to get away. But as I turned to run, I saw something even more horrifying. A ghostly pirate captain standing on the ship's bow, glaring at me with a terrifying grin. He raised his ghostly sword, pointing it right at me. I ran as fast as I could, my feet slipping on the wet sand. My breath came in short, panicked gasps, and my mind was a whirlwind of fear and confusion. When I finally reached my parents, I tried to tell them what I saw, but they didn't believe me. They laughed it off, saying I had an overactive imagination. Even my cousins thought I was joking. I felt a mix of frustration and fear. How could they not see what I had seen? The next day, I rushed back to the beach, hoping to find some evidence of the shipwreck. But when I arrived, there was nothing there. No ship, no ghostly figures, nothing. The beach looked just as it had the day before, calm and peaceful. It was like the ship had never existed. My heart sank and I felt a deep sense of unease. Had it all been a dream? But it felt so real. The whispers, cold, and fear were all too vivid to be just my imagination. My name is Jake, and I want to share one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. I've always loved the ocean and everything about it, the waves, the fish, and the mysterious creatures lurking beneath the surface. Whenever we went on holiday, I couldn't wait to jump into the water and explore. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened during one of our family vacations. We were on a trip to a beautiful tropical island. The water was crystal clear and the weather was perfect. One day, we decided to go on a boat trip to a popular spot where locals said we could see colorful fish and maybe even dolphins. I was so excited. The boat ride was fun, and when we reached the spot, the water looked inviting and full of life. I put on my snorkel gear and jumped in, eager to see all the amazing sea creatures. As I swam around, I felt like I was in another world. The fish were bright and beautiful, darting around in schools. I was completely mesmerized. But then, something changed. The water suddenly felt colder, and I noticed the fish had disappeared. It was eerily quiet, and the only sound was the gentle lapping of the waves. I felt a shiver run down my spine. That's when I saw it, the unmistakable fin of a shark slicing through the water just a few feet away from me. My heart stopped. It was the most terrifying moment of my life. I had read about sharks and seen them in movies, but never thought I would come face to face with one. The fin was tall and sharp, and as it got closer, I could see the dark, sleek body of the shark just beneath the surface. It was huge, much bigger than I had imagined. My mind raced, and I struggled to remember what I had learned about shark safety. Don't panic, don't splash, and stay calm. But how could I stay calm when a shark was beside me? My breath caught in my throat, and I felt like I was frozen in place. The boat that had brought us out here was too far away, and there was no one else in the water. I was alone, with only the shark for company. I tried to keep my movements slow and steady, hoping that the shark would lose interest and swim away. But it didn't. It started circling me, its cold black eyes watching my every move. I felt a deep, primal fear I had never experienced before. The ocean had become a vast, endless trap, and I was its helpless prey. The shark circled closer and closer, its fin cutting through the water with terrifying precision. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, and I had to fight the urge to scream or thrash around. I knew that any sudden movement could trigger an attack. I could barely breathe, my chest tight with fear. It felt like I was in a nightmare, and I couldn't wake up. The shark continued to circle, and each time it got closer, I could see its teeth sharpness and muscular body's power. It was a magnificent creature, but at that moment, it was the most frightening thing I had ever seen. The water felt colder and darker, and the once beautiful ocean now seemed dangerous and unforgiving. I tried to keep my eyes on the shark, but it was hard to focus. My mind was racing, filled with thoughts of what could happen, and then it happened. The shark bumped into me. It wasn't a hard bump, but it was enough to make my whole body jolt with fear. The sensation of its rough skin against mine was terrifying. I felt completely vulnerable, like I was at the mercy of this powerful predator. My heart was racing, and I could feel my legs trembling. I tried to stay as still as possible, but it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Every muscle in my body was tense, ready to flee, but I knew I had to stay calm. The shark continued to circle me, and I couldn't tell if it was curious or hungry. The fear was overwhelming, but I knew I had to keep my wits about me. I slowly started to back away, trying to put some distance between us. My movements were slow and deliberate, and I kept my eyes on the shark the entire time. The seconds felt like hours, and I couldn't tell if I was making any progress. I just kept praying that the shark would lose interest and swim away. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the shark turned and swam off into the deep blue. I couldn't believe it. It was gone. I felt relief wash over me, but I didn't dare move too quickly. I waited a few moments just to make sure it was really gone, and then I started swimming back to the boat as fast as I could. My arms and legs felt like lead, and my heart was still racing, but I pushed myself forward, desperate to get out of the water. When I finally reached the boat, I pulled myself up and collapsed on the deck, shaking and breathless. My parents and the boat crew rushed over, worried and confused. I tried to tell them what happened, but I could barely speak. I was in shock. The reality of what had just happened slowly sank in, and I felt a mix of emotions: fear, relief, and a strange sense of awe. I had met with one of the ocean's most feared creatures and lived to tell the tale. That encounter changed me. It made me realize how small and vulnerable we are in the ocean's vastness. It was a humbling experience, one that I'll never forget. To this day, the memory of that shark circling me, watching me with those cold, dark eyes, still sends shivers down my spine. The ocean is a beautiful, mysterious place, but it's also full of dangers, and sometimes those dangers come closer than we ever expected. Hope you like these stories. Which one do you like the most? Tell us in the comments below. If you have exciting stories, email them at the address in the video description. We'd love to hear them, and I'll make it into a video. Thank you for watching. See you in the following video.